Remind everyone that we're now resuming in public session. So the usual public session. Sorry. The usual housekeeping, make sure that our all mobile phones are switched off. So the item on the agenda for this afternoon's continued meeting is Pro-Social Drivers Ireland. I'd firstly like to introduce myself. I'm John O'Mahony, Chair of the Joint Committee on Transport, Tourism and Sport. My colleague, Deputy David Staunton, chairs the Joint Committee on Justice, Defence and Equality. And the purpose of this afternoon's meeting is to engage with the Donegal-based driver rehabilitation programme, Pro-Social Drivers Ireland. We are sitting jointly in accordance with Dáil Standing Orders 84 and Shannon Standing Order 72. This is one of the rare occasions, as far as I'm aware. It's the first one I've been involved in any one of the committees have sat jointly, and in that regard, at least, we're making history for the Transport Committee. I'm not sure about the Justice Committee. Could I ask maybe...
Thanks, John. From the Justice Committee, first of all, I want to apologise for Deputy Anne Ferguson, Senator Anna Bacic. They can't be here today. Others may drop in. The Dáil is in session as well, so there are some members there. But on behalf of the members of the Joint Committee on Justice, Defence and Equality, I'm very happy that this is occurring. In fact, this is the second joint meeting we've had in this Dáil of two committees sitting together, and the first one was this morning. So it's really kind of strange having two in the one day, but there you go. We look forward to listening to what you have to say and engaging with you on the issues that you've brought to our attention. And as John has said, the purpose is to engage with yourselves on this driver rehabilitation programme, which we are quite interested in from the justice point of view. We've done a lot of work on rehabilitation and penal reform and that kind of thing, as you may be aware. So any alternatives to criminal sanctions we feel should be explored and used to the maximum. And we're agreed on that across all parties and none on the justice side. And we've issued a report on penal reform a while ago, and that was the thrust of it. We've also looked at community courts and other such initiatives to see how we can actually keep people out of the criminal justice system and out of prison and so on. And any initiative that like this is most welcome. So we look forward to what you have to say, and especially the impact on recidivism and reoffending, and how effective the approach has been. So thanks for that, John.
Okay, thank you very much. So then on behalf of the two committees, namely the Joint Committee on Transport, Communications and the Joint Committee on Justice, Defence and Equality, I'd like to welcome Mr Gary Doggett, Mr Mick Quinlivan, Mr Paul McCusker and Mr Martin McFadden of Pro-Social Drivers Ireland. I wish to draw your attention to the fact that by virtue of Section 17(2)(l) of the Defamation Act 2009, witnesses are protected by absolute privilege in respect of their evidence to the committee. However, if you are directed by the committee to cease giving evidence in relation to a particular matter and you continue to do so, you are entitled thereafter only to qualified privilege in respect of your evidence. You are directed that only evidence connected with the subject matter of these proceedings is to be given, and you are asked to respect the parliamentary practice to the effect that, where possible, you should not criticise or make charges against any person, persons or entity by name or in such a way as to make him or her identifiable. I also wish to advise you that any submission or opening statement you have submitted to the committee will be published on the committee's website after the meeting. And members are reminded of the long-standing parliamentary practice to the effect that they should not comment on, criticise or make charges against a person outside the houses or an official either by name or in such a way as to make him or her identifiable. So now, if I could invite you to make the opening statement.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us along today to talk about our project. My name is Gary Doggett, and I'm the coordinator of the Pro-Social Drivers Programme. With me today is our chairman, Mick Quinlivan. Mick is a retired guard. He has 31 years' experience. He's currently working in the community and voluntary sector with mental health, disability and youth. Our treasurer, Paul McCusker, is a lecturer in business studies and community development. He's also treasurer for the Donegal Youth Service and Youth Work Ireland at national level. Our lead facilitator, Martin McFadden, is on the end there. Martin's an integrative counsellor. He's a founder of the Friends of Bill W Club in Donegal, which is a support centre for the recovery community. Now, Martin's very highly regarded in within the mental health and addiction services and works on a daily basis with challenging clients who present with behavioural issues. He's also a trained facilitator and trainer. My own area is in adult education. I have a BA Honours in Community Development and I've written a thesis on strategies to reduce reoffending. So the aims of the Pro-Social Drivers programme is basically to reduce deaths and injuries on our roads. We also want to reduce reoffending for road traffic offences, and we don't want to see an escalation of offences that can lead to a criminal record. I mean, 2012 saw the first year-on-year increase in fatalities on our roads since 2005. I mean, the way we look at it, these numbers represent human lives. They represent devastation to families. And from the justice perspective, I believe 2012 there were over 24,000 convictions for road traffic offences. We also view these people as members of our community. And what we're trying to do, we believe, is to reduce both perpetrators and victims of road traffic offences. Now, Donegal has a very recent and tragic history in relation to road safety. It's against this backdrop in 2012 our organisation was approached by representatives of the criminal justice system in Letterkenny with the view to perhaps putting together a driver rehabilitation programme to try and reduce the high instances of antisocial driving behaviour in the county. So all the research that we've seen to date and our own personal experiences show us that it's generally personal factors and not technical skills that's the main cause of risky or careless driving behaviour. So with this in mind, we put together a course that takes into considerations 4 areas that we felt were the most conducive to safe driving, and these are emotional control, social responsibility, driving under the influence, and the consequences of antisocial driving behaviour. Now, our clients are generally referred to us by judges, the probation service or solicitors. And this is a key strength of the programme in that it's an indication of the integrity of the work that we're doing and the trust placed in us by professionals in this area. We meet our clients on a one-to-one basis to discuss what they need to do to complete the programme, and they then attend 3 3-hour-long modules delivered over a 4-week period. After the initial induction, the modules are emotional control, which addresses the way that we respond to certain situations while behind the wheel. Next, we have social responsibility, which looks at the responsibility that we all have as members of our communities. This is followed by driving under the influence. And this in particular is very important because we find that a lot of the younger people that we deal with may have poor skills in peer refusal, and that's something we try to give people the skills where they can perhaps learn to say no to their friends and maybe encourage their friends to drive in a safer manner. Now, for the last module is the consequences of antisocial driving behaviour. It's been since the outset our thoughts are mainly with the victims of road traffic collisions. And with this in mind, we've always wanted to make a place where victims can voice their own pain and what they've been through. We generally invite in somebody who's either lost a loved one, maybe somebody who's been in a bad collision themselves, or a representative of the emergency services to come and give a talk on the last module. To date, we've run 12 courses. We've had 110 people successfully complete the course, and we've been informed that so far there's only one person who's reappeared before the courts. It's our understanding that probation-led reports have shown that the recidivism rates for road traffic offences is in the region of 28%, within 2 years. Now, I believe also that the majority of those occur within the first year. And international research has also shown that driver rehabilitation programmes can reduce reoffending by up to 50%. I'd like to just pass you on to our Treasurer, Paul McCusker. He'll explain our strategy for moving forward.
How are you doing? How you doing? The main thing we're at now is that we've been in our organisation for about 3 years, and we are looking to harness the success of the programme to date. We're looking to mainstream it. The key strengths of the programme, the first off is that we have a relationship with the judiciary and the statutory bodies, the Garda, the ombudsman, which is very, very positive. And we are seeking to offer them two things, particularly the judiciary, is certainty and consistency. Is that it's not enough for the judge to think a course is going to run. He has to know it's going to run. At present, we were set up and we run courses on demand. We've run 3 so far this year on a voluntary basis. We would like to offer certainty. We'd also like to roll the programme out on that basis of certainty. The second thing is that as a community group, our board is voluntary. We have councillors, we have representatives in the business community. We are very sensitive to the needs of all members within the community, and that's one of our keys. Within the group itself, then, is that it's very much a person-led centre. That requires resources. It will require investment. What we're hoping here today is that you'll make positive representations to the departments so that we can grow the programme. The programme, this morning, today for alone, we've had a huge amount of interest from other counties about coming down to develop programmes in their area, come down, talk to them. There is a need for a programme such as this. We are not competition or anything. We see ourselves complementing other activities, bringing a different perspective. On a more international stage, we have been approached by international countries, other countries internationally, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Austria. There's a huge amount of learning going on in this area. By no means does anybody know the answers, but I think that we can look for the answers together. The challenges ongoing, texting is becoming more and more of an issue. We'll need different strategies. The RSA has some phenomenal advertisements which are scary. The amount of space the car can travel in 15 seconds while texting. So these are issues which we'll have to adapt our programme for. We're also getting invitations from groups outside of the road traffic to see can we adapt our programme. We would like to invest time in doing that. The approach, while we have applied it in road safety, can also be applied to other areas as well. Public order offences, so on and so forth. Within schools, cyber bullies, not the cyber bullying, but the cyber bullies, as the young people who are doing the bullying need to be dealt with, as well as the victims. So we would see areas where we would like to explore in partnership with other groups. We have always adopted a partnership-based approach to developing this. Particularly Gary and Martin have worked very closely with other organisations. We're members of the Road Safety Working Group in Donegal. We liaise with anybody who is in this area. So we would need and we would like resources and a space to do that. The programme has been very successful, and we think ourselves the wind of opportunity is there right now, and we should take it. We have a kind of a loose plan to develop this, and the phase 1 is 7 counties, and this is the proposal that we put to the Minister who we met him in Donegal 2 months ago, that we would pilot the programme in seven counties. It's a geographic thing, but also it's a rural thing. The 7 counties around Donegal, because we're based in Donegal, but then we would move it down, and eventually we would come to Dublin in 5 years, 2020. The reason for that is it'll take 5 years to plan to come into an area and work it. We have over the past 5 years, we have developed a way of working that is very much dialogue based with the major key holders in the community. We liaise with the judges, we liaise with the Garda Síochána. We don't prescribe, but everybody is involved. Anybody who wants to have a say has a say. The programme runs. Martin will talk about that in a wee while, but very much partnership-based approach. We have no statutory anything. We don't want statutory, but essentially a group of people getting together in a room to discuss something which is of huge importance to everybody. We'd like to take it from there. The success of the programme, outside of the numbers, is that all of the people that we've spoken to who have done the courses, quite a while after doing the course, still speak very positive of what they learnt on the course. And that can't be quantified. So.
Thanks. Does anyone else want to come in?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the Joint Committee for having us down from Donegal today. It's lovely to be here to get the opportunity to present to everybody. I'll try not to duplicate anything that my two colleagues have said, just to give you maybe a little bit of a flavour of what the content of the programme is and maybe the delivery of that programme and why we're different. You know, it's the first of its kind in the country, which I'm sure you're aware of, and it's very much a cognitive behavioural approach. You know, and we sort of use my own orientation, if you like, is integrative as a counsellor, and I sort of draw on different skills and tools to work with particularly difficult, maybe, or resistant clients that would present. And normally the participants that come to us usually come from a solicitor or referred from a judge. So they are coming with a certain amount of resistance, if you like, and they don't really want to be there at the start, if you like. So we have to work with them, and I think it's very important that we meet them individually first, and maybe, you know, find out a little bit about who they are, what they're coming with, what their needs are as well. Building that rapport and trust is very, very important. And again, I think it's possibly the first time that maybe they've actually sat down with somebody and had that kind of a conversation, you know. So you know, when we get to the delivery of the programme, week one is around emotional control. It's also around communication and basic communication, which is very, very important. And even driving is a highly complex social activity, if you like, that has a language all of its own. And you know, when you talk to these kids, a lot of the time they're not even aware of what they're doing or why they're doing it. And again, I think that's part and parcel of why we've been successful. We've dug underneath, and we've gone to a different level to find out just exactly why they're behaving the way they are. You know, and a lot of the time they don't even realise that themselves. So it's a kind of a classic cognitive behavioural approach, if you like. And if we can change the thinking, then we change the behaviour. So that's very, very important. We give value to the course as well when we start off. We would always contract with the group just to give value and, you know, safety and everything, confidentiality and everything else to the group, so that they feel that they can express themselves within that forum. And I think that's very, very important, because again, that's something that they might not be used to, if you like. The programme is client-centred or person-centred as well. It is a collaborative, shared learning experience, and I think Gary, you know, will agree with me that we have also learned much from the participants who are coming through as we go. It's about maintaining balance as well. It's a very, very serious subject that we're working with. Road safety is, as Gary or Paul said, it's highly sensitive, and we are very conscious of that. But it's also about getting the people to engage, the participants to engage and to take part. And as I say, to date, that has been superb. Again, it's about raising awareness. It's about, you know, it's about getting them to understand as well, you know, that they have a social responsibility. You know, that there are other road users, that there are other people who are out there. And you know, a lot of the time it goes deeper than just road safety. It goes right across the board, you know, in their own personal, you know, or work or family environments. So it's a much deeper thing. And we try and change that automatic thinking that we have to a more skilled thinking. And you know, we've drawn down from a number of different you know, people from right across Europe. You know, there's different people we've come from who have lent some of their programme to us. There's one from Canada, for example, and we had one of the guys come over here and train with us for a week, and that's reasoning and rehabilitation, which is a 30-year evidence-based programme as well that works with young offenders and the like. So we've drawn from a lot of places, and we've pieced it all together quite well. The actual delivery, it's not really a lecture as such, but we have group discussion, we have PowerPoint, we have a bit of role play, we have case studies, you know, we do stuff like that, so it's quite good. The aims then, you know, just to get them to think a little bit about maybe self-control. Again, impulsivity is a huge thing. particularly with young people, it's what gets them in trouble in the first place. So if we can kind of temper that slightly, or at least get them to become aware of it, just to get them to stop and think, really. It's about trying to get them to think about their thinking as well, trying to get them to look maybe a little bit more critical reasoning if we can, and to look at more logical, maybe objectives, different decision-making styles. This is all heavy stuff for young guys and whatever, but all I can say is from the experience that I've had to date, it works when you do it in a simple form. Social skills, societal skills, very, very important again. Some people can come that might not necessarily have a set of skills. Peer influence, we've found, has been a huge issue as well. And we identified that quite early on, and we brought in part of the final module where we do a bit of work on peer refusal skills. And how do you say no in this country and not not lose face? So that's a very, very important one for young people. And it's to get them to, a little bit of kind of, we dig into the sort of the moral values and core beliefs as well, which is also very important. So it's about raising awareness, it's about getting that emotional management sort of thing. And then finally, on the last day, we bring in somebody maybe from the first responders, from the ambulance service, from somebody maybe who's been involved in a serious accident as well, or serious collision, and we do a talk, and we review what we've done over the previous month. And I suppose what I have found, and it's just come back to what I started with, you find these guys coming in first thing every morning, and they're quite resistant and they're quite sort of closed. And as the day wears on, and as the programme wears on, they become open and they become involved and they become engaged, and they go off and tell their friends. Certainly, it's by no means a get out of jail card. They work for the certificate they get, and it's beholden to us to hold up the integrity of the programme, to maintain that, and to bring it forward, as Paul would have said. We would ask the committees if they could endorse the programme for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll hand over to members, to my colleague David here at the moment if he has any questions. But maybe thank you for the presentation, and obviously it's intriguing, and it's a solution to an issue, and I suppose the aims of reducing fatalities and keeping people improving behaviour is the two key ones. Just a few things that you said, and I just throw it open and I'll ask maybe members just to stick to questions as much as possible as well, and I'll try and lead by example here. You said there in the figures about being informed that there was only one re-offender. I mean, is that a definite figure, or is it informed by the Garda?
Well, actually, that comes from quite recently. There was an article in the Irish Independent. The reporter spoke with Judge Kelly himself, and it was him, I believe, that.
Yeah, no, it's just wondering, is it a kind of an exact figure, or is it just anecdotal or whatever? Now, the other thing you talk about the aim of rolling it out, if you like, around the country. I mean, what cost are we talking about here? And I'll just throw all the questions. Maybe you can back up.
Okay.
And just the workings of it. Is this where some young person or whoever is in court and the judge, recommends that they do this course? Or may they do this course if they're in prison as a result of a road offence, or is it for people who don't, if you like, have to serve a sentence? So maybe I'll just throw those few questions.
First question first. The cost for phase one, we estimate for the 2 years for the phase one, 200,000 to the 7 counties, and we would aim, now we don't know exact figures, but we would aim to have between 600 and 800 participants through courses in that time. But the rollout would be the rollout when it happens, the way we work it is that it'd be phase one, or when you go into an area, is that we would liaise with the judges, then we work with the solicitors, then we work with the Garda, informing them and educating and familiarising them with what we are aiming to do, getting their buy-in. Then we would talk to community groups. So this would be Gary, and he would do this mainly, and then the course rolls out with referrals from the court system. and that'll be Martin and Gary working together. So this we have worked on in Donegal over the last 3 years. So that's the rollout, is that we would go into jurisdictional areas and we work with the judges to get referrals, and then we roll the course out.
So it's 200,000 for the whole lot.
For the whole lot.
Okay.
For the 2 years.
For the 2 years.
If we could just answer the question in relation to how does the programme work. What's interesting, we've recently had a lot more buy-in from the probation service. We actually have a serving member of the probation service on our board. She sat the course herself and was that impressed she decided to join the board as well. Generally speaking, the programme started out mainly referrals from Judge Kelly. The referrals would come before the person on the first hearing. They then have to go back to the courts after they've completed the course. Quite early on, we were very aware of the problem that there might be with some people may respond better than others. Some might not respond well at all. And we wanted to differentiate between people who worked hard for the course and those who maybe just turned up and just were there because they had to be there. So in consultation with the Trasna programme in Dublin, Paul Mooney, they very kindly allowed us to use their evaluation system that they use for and we use some of the areas that they do. So we evaluate clients on their punctuality as a social skill. That's number one. If they can't turn up early or on time for the course, it's not really a good sign. We also look at participation. Because it's a peer learning environment, we think it's massively important that everybody gets involved in the conversation. And we understand the very first course, group work, theory and practice, you know that it's very awkward for everybody and we don't expect anybody to get involved in the first time around. But we kind of tease it out a little bit. We give everybody the opportunity, and these areas are explained to everybody in that one-to-one meeting. We'll show them the marking sheet. You're marked, as I said, on punctuality. You're marked on your participation, your demeanour. You come in with a positive attitude. And that doesn't mean sitting there texting or using your phone. That's explained quite clearly what the rules are. And finally then teamwork. So that's the 4 areas we mark from 1 to 5. 1, basically, if you're very, very late, and 5 if you're camping out there the night before waiting for us to arrive there. We don't really expect that, obviously, but, we do want to have people aware that there is a system, and we find this a great motivational tool as well because it helps us to keep things in order. We don't want, there is that perception out there. We're very, very aware that there's victims out there who've suffered loss through the actions of some of our clients. We don't want to see a case where people feel that it is a get-out-of-jail-free card, as we've heard that term before. And we want the wider community to be reassured that anybody doing our programme has to actually earn the certificate. And, as I said, the other rules that we have are all clearly explained at the outset. So the question about referral, at the start, it mainly came from the judge. When people appeared in court for the first time, it was suggested that they do the programme. We would then evaluate the client. The results would be sent on to the judge and possibly to the solicitors if they were requested. But we found more recently, after that, the person would go to court, and that's outside our remit, obviously. Our remit is to deliver a course. So whatever happens on the basis of our evaluations has nothing to do with us. But we found more recently that we're getting more and more referrals from the solicitors, which we found quite surprising. We gave a presentation to the Bar Association about a year or 2 back, and we've had massive buy-in for the solicitors, which has been great. And again, much more recently, we've found that we're getting more and more clients coming to us who are perhaps looking to get their licence back. And we find this has been absolutely brilliant because I suppose with the initial shock of losing a licence, you may be inclined to maybe not behave in that certain manner again. But 2 or 3 years down the line, attitudes may have softened a little bit. So we think that's the time that it's good to get people to maybe try and change their attitudes before they get back behind the wheel of the car again. And just one more point I'd like to make. We've never seen ourselves as a replacement for the current system. In fact, we just consider ourselves to be a complementary asset. But we do understand the difficulties too with the punitive system, that if you're giving somebody a ban in Donegal for the same offence as you're giving somebody a ban in Dublin, it's a very different sentence. You know, there's no transport links in Donegal. If somebody, that's what we're talking about, is an escalation of offences, people getting behind the wheel again, perhaps through necessity, and obviously we don't condone that behaviour in any way.
Okay, thanks very much. David, so maybe let's go. Okay, Deputy McLaughlin, followed by Deputy Pringle.
Thanks. First of all, to thank the two chairmen for facilitating what is a rare joint meeting of committees, and very, very welcome. But it's very welcome in both. So thanks to both chairmen for facilitating that. Just a very brief commentary, because obviously myself and Thomas are TDs for Donegal, and across all the public representatives in the county would have huge admiration for the work of pro-social drivers. A number of years back, I'm from the Inishowen Peninsula, as you know, and I was mayor of my hometown of Buncrana, and I had to comment on a road tragedy on TV. And I remember calculating, I'd just gone through over deaths, and I came forward with a horrendous statistic. 25 young people under the age of 25 had been killed on the roads of Inishowen over 18 months. 25 under the age of 25, just in the Inishowen Peninsula. So we went through a horrendous period, and so for us to have come from that sort of very tragic history to now have a story like this, which is remarkable in terms of, and you're right to ask the question about just one, because it is an incredible achievement in fairness. So I suppose the question is, mindful, we have a lot of, obviously, two chairmen are representatives for rural communities, and Deputy Fleming has joined us from a rural community. In rural communities, public transport is very patchy, so young people grow up with a culture of cars and having to drive. So I suppose the question is that your objective, practically, because you're based in Donegal, is to engage with a number of rural counties and with working groups there. I mean, I think it's obvious. I would like to see this mainstreamed. I'm a massive admirer of what you're doing. Just maybe talk through taking an approach with all rural communities similar to Donegal first, and then working your way down. Hopefully, if we can get support from the minister or for whatever department is there, just maybe take us through how that would move forward.
Get Deputy Pringle in, and then we'll go back for a response.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman, and I'd like to thank you for facilitating me. I'm not a member of either joint committee, and so I'd just like to, but I think it's important for me to come here today to support the pro-social drivers, because over the last few years, as the course has rolled out, and I had the pleasure at the end of one course to actually present the certificates to the participants as well, in Letterkenny. So I think it's a very important programme, and I think it has been clear from the presentation here today that it's a very valuable programme as well. When you consider that 24,000 convictions annually for road traffic offences, some of those would be custodial sentences, and if we can help to reduce those convictions, but also to reduce the reoffending, which is the key part of it, there is a substantial saving there. So while the proposal for €200,000 to roll it out in 7 counties over 2 years might seem like a large amount of money, there actually will be a saving to the state through the rollout of this programme, and I think that's vitally important. I suppose just in terms of a question, I would just like to maybe ask Gary or Martin, do you see that your role would actually be, if this was a national rollout, to actually train people to deliver the course on a national basis? And I think also as well, I think that while the argument in relation to rural counties is there in terms of difficulties around transport. I do see a very important role for this in terms of urban areas as well, and delivering flow services. And actually, the chairperson asked as well, maybe you might address whether it would be possible to actually deliver this in the prison system too. I think it's something that would be very important in terms of recidivism as well. Thanks, Chairman.
Okay, if you want to take those two, and then we'll go to Deputy Fleming and Fitzmaurice if they wish to come in.
Yeah, can I just take that one? Yeah, thank you to both Donegal deputies who've been very, very supportive of our programme to date, as has all of the deputies right across the county and right across the board, which is fantastic to have. In answer to your question, Thomas, yeah, certainly that would be our aim, would be to bring the programme to right around the country where we will be in a position to train the trainers. You know, we're very mindful of the location we're in at the moment, and it's, you know, it's local, if you like, and it's quite insular. And you know, obviously for us going forward, there would be certain challenges to bring this to different parts of the country. There would be different localities, there would be different situations, different environments, and we're very, very conscious of that. So that's, you know, what Paul would have said as well. You know, our strategy going forward for the next 5 years, we would have taken all that into account. But certainly, to grow the programme, yeah, we would be looking to put facilitators in different parts of the country to work within their own areas. Yeah.
Can I just add to that in relation to the rollout? Is that in the committee itself is that we're all fairly senior members of other community organisations and the treasurer and so on and so forth, and we have fairly significant networks in the youth set, and they would love this. They buy into this. The youth sector has tried restorative practices quite successfully, so we would use them. The judges and the Gardaí and the first responders, our experience to date is that they are fully supportive in whatever capacity, and they would roll in behind. You know, this morning alone, the phone has been buzzing to Gary, our media guru, about will we come down, will we? But people in the community will buy in. They want to see every strategy, every possible opportunity taken to stop the carnage. You know, like referring to Padraig's example, one of the young people killed in one of the instances alone, there was 5 young people killed coming from a nightclub, is that young girl was buried in her graduation outfit. She had spent 4 years getting a degree, and she was buried. And it is all tragedies, all road accidents are so tragic, they're so senseless, and anything that we can do to stop it. I mean, anything bar locking people, but that's what our aim is to stop, and getting young people and drivers to stop and reflect and give them a chance. It is making a difference, and we're hoping that we'll go up a level and it'll make a wider difference.
Could I answer the question in relation to within the prison system? That's quite interesting, actually. We've actually explored that area ourselves, and we've, you know, in putting this course together, we're very conscious of following best practice. We don't want to just, you know, go out on our own and be mavericks, if you like. We want to see what's going on in other countries. We've spoken with the Austrians, the KFE. They've been running driver rehabilitation programs since, I believe, 1978. I believe they've become mandatory since 95. But the prison area, the Czech Republic very kindly sent us on their own programme that they actually do use within the prison system, and we've kind of had informal discussions in that regard with you know, somebody that we have good connections with has spoken with some of the prison you know, officers as well about the possibility of doing something like that.
Okay, Deputy Fitzmaurice or Deputy Fleming, do you wish to?
Look, I welcome this initiative and the delegation attending here today. I suppose I'm wondering about, I only took a synopsis of it here now, Chairman, who would be regarded as high-risk drivers? Are there people who have been in custody for offences? Or, like, should we rate the whole general public out there, you know, due to maybe there needs to be probably some people would need to do, even myself, would probably need to do with the brushing up on the roads of the road. For instance, if I had to face a driving test at the moment, I probably would not pass it under the modern standards. Like,
well, that's actually a very interesting question, and it's something that we've thought about very, you know, in depth. I suppose the course that we've put together, because of the size of the county, I suppose, we have a generic course, if you like. But absolutely, I think that there's a space there for lesser offences, you know, somebody who's maybe transgressed the speed limit by a small amount. I don't think what we're doing is particularly, you know, conducive to safe driving in their, you know, context. But the areas I think that we are most productive would possibly be in the dangerous driving areas, careless driving. We're finding more and more people that there's different types of offences. You know, there's driving under the influence of drugs. There's also, you know, texting while driving, which is hard to believe that people would even consider doing something like that. So, yeah, even using the phone, really, look at how Ireland has changed over the years. I think it's fantastic, even in relation to smoking. We've changed our whole attitudes around something. We've changed the way the public thinks about something. The same has occurred with seatbelts. You know, it's taken a while, but it's got there. And I think that we really need to educate some, particularly our clients. The fact that they've come before the courts in the first place is an indicator that there is a problem.
I think, like, also, yeah.
Sorry, I'd just like to add there, I have 31 years' experience on the front line in relation to traffic and traffic accidents and offences, road traffic offences. And I would have to say that when you go to the scene, your first concern are for people who are injured and those who are the injured parties, and you look after them. However, the culprits or the perpetrators, or whatever you want to call them, the person who is wrong in the accident, it could be your brother, it could be my brother, it could be anybody's brother here. It could be very hard-working people that have worked double shifts and fallen asleep on the way home. There are so many tragic stories. They're not necessarily criminals, and shouldn't really be treated as criminals. They're very, very misfortunate. Now, there are serial offenders, and yes, they have to be dealt with, and we're not asking anybody, and I certainly would not want to give anybody a get-out-of-jail-free card, and more because I do know what the consequences of this type of driving are, and I have seen it firsthand. So we have to have a level-headed approach to this. And like I say, it could be your brother or my brother or anybody's brother here. It's not about revenge, it's about making everybody safer and better.
Your question, Deputy Fanning, if you don't mind. Yeah, the programme is very, very adaptable and would work as a preventative measure, you know, or even as a brush up, as you said yourself. But at the moment, it's a consequence of the participants' behaviour. It's a result of, so therefore it's experiential learning. They've touched the wet paint, or they've engaged in whatever activity they've engaged in. So for that reason, it's very, very real to them. Whereas if you're delivering a programme to somebody, maybe in a transition year or whatever, it's never going to happen to them, sort of thing. So what I'm saying by that, it's good at the moment because you have their engagement. They have to be there, and when they buy in, of course, as they have done, it's always a bonus. Thank you.
So I just like, it's great to see that you're bringing a sense of awareness, and hopefully that the rollout will be done in a timely fashion. I was just wondering about speed restrictors. Have you dwelt on that at any stage, because it is pointed out, in many cases where there are younger drivers prone to speeding, that maybe speed restrictors would be very desirable by the insurance companies as well. To be one way of, if there was a limit put on, the insurance companies would respond to cheaper insurance.
Legislation issue rather than for
yeah, right.
Also, we would find that it's an attitude thing. Is that the technology only works providing the person using technology has the will to use it. And speed restrictors, they will work, but really the attitude of the driver and his or her demeanour towards while in the car is what we work at. We don't have a driving programme in that respect. We don't have any technical driving skills. They're all very good drivers already. It's their behaviour is what we focus on. from the word go.
Okay.
Sorry, no, very briefly, just in tandem with what you're doing, like, I think the local authorities need to get involved in it for the infrastructure. There should be more emphasis placed on the getting rid of black spots.
Yeah.
The Department of Transport here and the local authorities.
Yeah.
And look, maybe there's a need for certainly some kind of a soft landing ramps in places. Some counties have more than that, and I think that is a need for them in schools and certain built-up areas and all. Yeah, that's about.
Okay, thanks, Deputy. Deputy Fitzmaurice.
First of all, thanks for coming in. Thanks for your presentation. To move or to follow on from Deputy Freeman, do you talk to councils in the line of the programme for their roads, in the line of alleviating problems where it's identified that there is high-risk areas? Second of all, in the line of, and I've been an advocate of this, I don't know, have you done anything about it? Or, like, people are talking about youngsters driving fast, but you can put a speedo into a car the same as a lorry, and it will restrict you. Whether you like it or not, it will restrict you. Have we gone down that road? The third thing, with the course, say, obviously when you're rolling out this, and if to do a course, is there an incentive there? Have you gone to, say, an insurance company? Because, like, youngsters are being crucified with insurance. There's no point in saying they're not. They're a target. And, like, you're trying to basically, you're giving them an incentive not to have insurance with the way it's gone, with the prices they're looking for. And we have to do something for them, because this 3,000 and 4,000, they haven't it. And can we not do something? And I know there is, some insurance companies have done a certain amount, and they get a cert that would alleviate or bring down the price of that, because, like, in fairness, it's not over fair to them. The other thing that, and I know it's moving, we're moving to the other spectrum. There are a lot of good drivers that are actually off the road in this country for one simple reason. They are maybe moved on in age and elderly. They never had a licence when you didn't need a licence. And this is reality in rural parts of Ireland. They would drive a truck, a car or a tractor better than any person with all the licences in the world. But because they got nabbed on the road for not having a licence, even though they might be 30 years driving, they would be put off it. And then people, unfortunately, cannot go and get a licence now because a lot of them hadn't the luxury of getting school. They are afraid, the fear of going into that van for doing this test that you do. And I think that this needs addressing, because we are pushing people outside the law that are well fit to drive. Would you agree?
So, to respond, I think there was 4 questions there, if I'm right. You did ask about our input in relation to roads and so on. We are members of the Donegal Road Safety Working Group. In that respect, that's the only input that we would have in relation to roads, and obviously we can offer our opinion along with the rest of the committee. Speed restrictors wouldn't necessarily be our area, because it's not only speeding offences that we deal with. There's a myriad of offences that are not necessarily related to speed. It was interesting what you said about the insurance companies, because we've explored many different options of continuing our work. We've been working for 3 years now, and it's a struggle to get the necessary supports we need. We've definitely explored the idea of the insurance companies. We've thought that perhaps a good way of getting support, maybe the buy-in from insurance companies, maybe a reduction in premium for somebody who's done the course. That's a possibility that we may explore in the future. The other area about the elderly, I don't think that would be really relevant to the work that we're doing, unfortunately. So I hope that answers the questions.
Okay, Deputy Pringley wants to come in for a brief.
Yeah, just a very brief supplementary, Chairman, and thanks for accommodating me. You mentioned in your earlier contribution there that you've had some international interest and stuff like that as well, and I was just wondering, do you see anything that could develop this on an all-island basis, even cross-border basis, in terms of rolling out the service as well?
That's actually also an interesting question. There's been kind of developments recently The probation service in the last year or two have bought into our services quite a lot as well. Not only do we have a board member from the probation service, but they've also recommended our course to a judge on the other side of the border in Derry, and he's actually accepted our evaluations for one case in the past, and there's 2 more cases pending, and the recommendation has been made that we that the 2 clients attend our course as well. The international cooperation that we've had has been very good so far. When we were setting out on the journey, if you like, we did look at a lot of what's going on in other countries. We were very conscious of providing a good service, and we wanted to see what's working in other areas. One particular model was the reason and rehabilitation model, as Martin mentioned earlier on, has been well recognised internationally. One of the original authors of the reason and rehabilitation model, he's based in Estonia, and he very kindly came over basically at cost to deliver training for some of our facilitators. So, I mean, we've had massive buy-in from those guys as well. As I mentioned earlier, the Czech Republic have more or less handed us their programme that they use within the prison systems.
Okay, thank you very much. Deputy McLaughlin wants to come in.
All I wanted to do is that I think you'd agree, Chairman, that I think we've all been very impressed with what we've heard here. I'm hoping that our 2 committees could, I don't know if it's something that could be decided now or later, but that we could correspond with the 2 ministers.
Yes, I presume what will happen after today is that each committee will consider it individually
at the next meeting,
and then we'll tick-tack on it.
That's in order. Thanks very much, Chair.
Just a few questions from myself. Most of them have been answered. I must say I'm highly impressed with what I've heard, and you're pushing all the right buttons where I'm concerned so far. And I just one question: is your organisation unique in the island, or are there other groups doing the same thing? So there's nobody else, no competition as such anywhere. Okay, that's good. What's the structure of the organisation? Is it a limited company? Is it a not-for-profit? Is it a charity? What? Sorry.
Company.
Okay.
Not-for-profit, no share capital.
No share capital. Okay. So, and is it a charitable status as well?
We're in the process of
getting that. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
I could outline a few of our board members. I don't think I did before. Our board directors includes a serving member of the probation service, a community liaison officer, a public representative who's also a healthcare worker. We have an education specialist who deals with disadvantaged groups, a qualified counsellor who specialises in bereavement counselling, and a representative from the business community.
Okay, that's very good to know. A few other questions. Insurance companies were mentioned. Now, I noticed in the documentation you gave us that there's a reference here to the cost, I think, in some other jurisdiction, that the cost per participant was mentioned about $300 here. I've seen this in some, maybe, and also, maybe, did you give us this? Or? Yeah, you did, I think, yeah. And then it says here the economic bottom line of about $2,400 in net taxpayer only benefits per participant is mentioned. Are you familiar with that? No? Or an ARP programme, reason and rehabilitation?
That may be in other areas that it's been used. We charge €150 per client at the moment.
$150 per client?
Yes.
And they pay it themselves?
Yes, and that's only in the last, since we've given the presentation to the Bar Association. And again, this has been pointed out to us by victims groups that this is vitally important that people do pay.
Yeah.
Because, otherwise it can be viewed as it's a free course, and they maybe get a reduction in the sentence, win-win situation for them. But, it's feeling the pain. If I may, we quite often we get the mammy phoning up, to book the course. And I did recently have a mammy sitting in on the interview with the young man, and this guy is about 25 years old. And when I brought up the cost of the programme, Mommy said, "Asha, look, didn't I give birth to him? So I'll pay for it." I said, "Were you sitting in the car or driving, madam?" She said, "No, well, I much prefer that the young man himself pays for it. He needs to learn." And that's very, very much where we're at in relation to financial.
That's interesting from the point of view of the victim. There's no
absolutely,
about that.
Yes.
Just sorry, Johnny.
In relation to the structure, the cost as a limited company, and we're fully compliant with all. So we are a voluntary group, but even voluntary groups, there's quite an overhead now accruing to use the phrase legal, and that's the support, is that we have received an incredible amount of goodwill from Donegal. I know the question was asked by Donegal County Council. The amount of time and energy and effort that people put into this project has made a goodwill. But that's the certainty. I'll go back to my original point, is we have to provide certainty.
So the 200,000 cost is for so that you can have the overall structures. The actual courses themselves are paid for by the people.
Yes, it would go a long way to get that. But like you would have a 7-county structure in place with certainty. That you wouldn't arrive in, and what we would hate is that we arrive in and that we make promises we can't. We promise things we can't deliver. We say we will run courses, and then the courses don't materialise for factors that are within our control. That's the reality. The €2,000, it's 100,000 a year, basically, to run this programme over 7 counties to deal with the demand. And we don't know what the demand is because no one else is offering us. But we estimate between 600 and 800 young people would come through based on figures in Donegal.
Obviously, as well. Rolling it out over several counties will give us a broader depth and width of working with clients, which will inform the data going forward as well, and obviously strengthen the programme moving forward.
Again, as I said at the beginning, I'm quite impressed, very impressed actually with what I've heard so far. Could I just ask about again, getting back to insurance costs and so forth? It would appear to me that it would be a huge advantage to insurance companies to have this particular type of programme rolled out across the country, because the savings they would make would be pretty big in reducing the accidents alone. Has there been any analysis of the net bottom line positive benefit in monetary terms per participant? As has been said here, it's been $2,400, but
not as yet. Again, resources.
Of course, yeah. Maybe some of the universities might take that on and give a hand on that.
Yeah, well, one of our problems is that we're localised,
of course,
at the moment, and insurance companies kind of work on a national basis, and it's very, very difficult to get in there. Because there's a lot of...
And maybe they're watching in here today, because this is...
Hopefully.
Actually, we did speak with... we had a conversation a while back with business and the community about strategies for perhaps moving forward. I mean, two of the areas that we thought about, one is exactly this, insurance. We've already discussed this, for young people coming on the course beforehand to maybe get a reduced premium for taking part in the course. So that would seem to be a no-brainer. Another area that we were looking at is perhaps that the larger corporations might be interested in the emotional control module, just a half-day training for their staff around emotional control, particularly if you're driving in the cities and all. It's very difficult, and it is a highly charged emotional experience nowadays. So that's another area that we have been considering. But we have that uncertainty, as Paul says, and once we have some form of certainty, we can explore these in more depth.
Okay. You did mention the Etruscan organisation earlier on, I believe.
Trasna.
Oh, sorry, I thought I meant Etruscan, who were in to see us way back. They do anger management and stuff like that.
Oh, right. No. The Trasna project here in Dublin.
Okay.
They employ ex-offenders.
Okay. I'm familiar with, again, here in Dublin, the Care After Prison.
I know Stephen.
Absolutely. Great organisation. And yesterday I visited the Churchfield Community Trust in Cork, which is a similar type of model. And last week a number of us were out in Portugal looking at their drug policy, whereby they, again, divert people from the criminal justice system to rehabilitation and counselling and treatment.
Absolutely.
And again, it seems to be a very positive approach. Yeah. So again, from that point of view, I certainly would be very interested in supporting, and I'm sure Justice Committee colleagues as well, in supporting this in any way we can, and in learning more about what you do.
I think again, Martin kind of touched on it as well. It's very easy to demonise people for quite often impulsivity and poor decision making at a moment in time. And while people and we really understand that people are hurt by these collisions and accidents and so on, and we're really very much on the side of the victim here. We want to reduce the amount of victims, but at the same time we can't just necessarily demonise everybody who's transgressed on occasion. So
if you make the roads safer, you make it safer for
absolutely.
everybody. Yes. Everybody.
Yes. That's our goal.
Final question. Can I ask about your presence on social media? Have you a presence on social media at the moment?
Well, we have a website that I've had to build myself, unfortunately. Budget restrictions. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Facebook.
Facebook, you're on all those.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, finally, I was glad to hear Mick Quinlivan there clarifying the idea that you didn't want this to be a get out of jail card for serious offenders, because in fact as I was listening to Gary, you on the radio at an early hour this morning, I think there was another news item later on where somebody was being released after 4 years of a 7-year sentence. I don't know where it was or whatever, but there was this who had re-offended or who had escaped at some stage and whatever. Yeah, and I suppose the human side of it. So I'm glad that you're getting a balance in what you're saying there, and it's to improve behaviours and save lives, not to kind of give people an escape route from being dealt with if there's serious offences. I just finally I understand from, I think it may have been a reply from the Minister at some stage, that the government's road safety strategy 2013-2020 has made provision for the introduction, subject to legal advice, of rehabilitation and driving awareness courses and court-based sentencing options for specific offenders. Is this something that...
No, we're aware of that as well, and we absolutely applaud that, and we would hope that in that respect that we may get the support.
We'll see ourselves fitting into that camp.
Yeah. Obviously, that would be a competitive tender and all of that, but you're aware of all of that. So, look, thank you very much for coming in. Unless there's any other questions, I really appreciate it. You came in with solutions rather than problems, which is the opposite a bit what happens at some stages. And obviously, as we said earlier, each committee will be deliberating on this, and obviously we'll be in touch with the other. And we wish you well in your efforts to roll it out over a wider area.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
As there's no other business, this joint meeting of the two committees is adjourned sine die. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you.